Welcome to the Sovereign CEO podcast, where all things business, politics, and culture collide. I'm Karla Treadway. I'm a marketing strategist, business coach, podcaster, and truth teller for critically thinking freedompreneurs who are ready to play big. Here we have brave conversations about creating wealth on your own terms, building a brand that stands for something, making an impact on the world, and living sovereign and free. If you're ready for bold conversations, real strategy, and the mindset to lead in today's world, you're in the right place. Hey guys, quick interruption here. I love to talk about politics and culture, but I love to talk about solutions even more. Knowing how to increase wealth is one of those solutions. If you're an established entrepreneur or online coach who's looking to grow their business this year, check out the show notes to see if you qualify for our Scale program. We're helping serious entrepreneurs scale their business using my IG client acquisition system, the very same system that has helped us generate over 70,000 organic leads for our coaching business. If you're done making content that doesn't convert, if you're done having inconsistent cash months, but you have a great offer, you love helping people, and you know you just could blow this thing up if you just got it in front of more eyeballs. And if you're ready for a simpler strategy that doesn't burn you out, check out the show notes now to apply for our Sovereign CEO Scale program. While you're down there, check out the link for my free community. It's called The Vault. The Vault is a curated community of serious business builders. It's where I share my unique systems for growth and where you can actually learn from me live each and every month. So again, if that's you, if you're an established entrepreneur or online coach looking to grow their business this year, head on to the show notes now so that you can see these options for growing your business with me. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the Sovereign CEO podcast. I am Karla Joy Treadway, and today we have to have a real serious discussion about what's going on in Canada. Guys, I was talking to a friend today. He's a YouTuber. He creates content as well. And we were talking about the real seriousness of what we're facing here in Canada. And I'd love to put my head down and just do marketing and all the fun stuff. And to be honest, I'm getting a little burnt out from the sheer volume of information that is coming out right now, all the stuff about Carney, all the things that we're hearing about corruption. There's so much. It's so easy just to turn away from it all, or at least that's how I'm feeling. I think a lot of you are maybe feeling like that too. But there's one thing that I want to talk about today, because this is the hill that I die on. There are a lot of issues to talk about and a lot of things that we could discuss, but the hill that I die on is free speech. It's the thing that will really determine whether or not we're going to have a great future here in this country. Today, we got to talk about Bill C63 because the Liberals want to bring it back. Carney wants to bring this back with a vengeance. And Bill C63 is not just bad policy. It's not just government overreach. That's just, a Liberal gone too far. This is authoritarianism. This is fascism. The left loves to sling that word at the right. They have no idea what it actually means. Let's talk about why Bill C63 is so dangerous. So this is also called the Online Harms Act, and it's being sold to Canadians as a way to just keep us safe online, to protect the children, to protect people from hate and misinformation and harmful content. But when you read the fine print, it becomes terrifyingly clear that this bill does not protect the public. It protects the Liberals and their power. It gives the government the ability to punish people, not for what they've done, but for what they, check this, might say. Let that sink in. We're talking about pre-crime laws. Judges can impose peace bonds, restrictions, even surveillance and counseling orders if they believe you might say something bad on the internet in the future. That's not law and order. That's thought policing. That's Orwell's 1984. That's Minority Report. And no, I am not being dramatic here. So people on the left will say, yeah, but Canada has checks and balances. Surely we'll be protected, so it doesn't go that far. Really? We're going to talk about that today. Bill C is raising red flags for many Canadians who are paying attention, who are concerned about censorship, state overreach, and the erosion of civil liberties. If you're looking at this from an Orwellian lens like I am, meaning you're looking for those signs of surveillance, thought control, censorship, and punishment for wrongthink, you don't have to stretch your imagination when you actually look at the Orwellian elements of this bill. And I'm going to go into the structures as well. Who is actually going to be the arbiters of truth on this? I want to show you that there are not checks and balances in place to protect your average Canadian citizen. So let's look at the Orwellian parts of this bill first. So number one, the biggest one, pre-crime detention and restriction orders. The bill is going to allow judges to impose restrictions on individuals based on the suspicion that they might commit a hate crime in the future. A judge can order someone to enter into a peace bond, restricting their behavior and potentially requiring counseling or monitoring. I think we saw this with Jordan Peterson when he was forced to go to re-education camp. I mean, how communist does that sound? Even if they have not committed a crime, just on the belief that they might commit one. And this can be triggered without the person having done anything illegal, just an allegation or perception of future risk. And this is the state punishing people for what they might do or think and not what they've actually done. P.S. They will also financially reward people for ratting out their neighbors for their pre-crime wrongthink. I'm not joking. Number two, penalties up to $70,000. Under the new Digital Safety Commission, individuals can face hefty financial penalties for content deemed harmful, even if it doesn't meet the threshold of criminality. This includes content that is subjectively labeled as hate speech or harmful content under broad and vague definitions. This creates financial punishment for unpopular opinions with no trial, just an administrative tribunal. And it's the digital equivalent of getting disappeared by the Ministry of Truth. Go back and listen to my podcast with Omar Sheikh. And we go into this bill a little bit when they first tried to bring it out about what's actually possible under this. There are super broad, vague definitions of harm. Like, I don't think anyone would disagree that you probably shouldn't be able to go on the internet and say that you want to unalive someone. However, the Online Harms Act framework, when they're talking about harmful content and hate speech and promoting hatred without clear legal definitions, this leaves wide discretion for government to interpret what actually is hateful. Saying you hate Trudeau, is that hateful content? Saying that you don't believe in 25 genders, is that hateful content? Guys, I'm probably going to jail right now for just saying that. The commissioners get to decide, and really we're going to see punishment for unpopular beliefs or dissent. How do I know I'm not fear-mongering right now? Well, look at their behaviors from the past. I was told by my prime minister on TV that because I didn't want a vaccination, I was a racist, white supremacist, a misogynist, that everyone at the Freedom Convoy was a Nazi. So, back then, if you had a Canadian flag up, you were a white supremacist and a Nazi, and you were putting out hateful content online. This is how things get twisted. I'm not twisting it. They twisted it already in the past. I have a giant body of evidence that shows when there is political dissent, regardless of what you thought about the Freedom Convoy, there were people there with Canadian flags peacefully protesting, and they were called Nazis and white supremacists. I don't care if you agreed with the premise of the protest. They are twisting things and mislabeling people. This is where this is going to go because we've already seen how they do this. Also in this bill, permanent inclusion in a government registry. Peace bonds and monitoring. If someone is forced into a peace bond for potential hate speech, they could have their name entered into a government registry. I'm probably already there. This could affect your future employment, travel, and personal freedom, even though you were never actually charged with a crime. This is a social credit score territory. Once labeled as a risk, you're going to be monitored, flagged, and potentially excluded from society without due process. They're going to empower a digital safety commissioner with sweeping powers. Wasn't it like Jacinda said that she was the arbiter of truth? If it came from the government, then it is truthful, and only we tell you the truth. We tell you what to think and believe. So the Digital Safety Commission, the commissioner can demand content takedowns, fine platforms or people, and monitor online platforms. The commissioner is not elected. Interesting. And their power bypasses traditional courts in many ways. Oh, great. One elected official has the power to determine what is acceptable speech. That's not safety, that's speech policing. Mandatory monitoring and reporting by platforms. So this is what happened with social media in Canada. This is why we can't see the news. And people think it's Meta that stopped you from seeing the news. That's so stupid that you believe that. I'm sorry, I'm not even trying to be nice on that. The government created a bill, and if the platforms didn't do what the bill said, that they would have to pay every time someone looked at the news. So they took it down because they don't want to go bankrupt from people sharing news and content. The government knew exactly what it was doing when it created that bill. So they're going to do the same things here so that the platforms will be forced to comply and take down anything that the government doesn't like, or they will have to face financial penalties. So this is going to force big tech to become agents of the state. Again, look up the word fascism, right? Enforcing censorship in real time. Private companies will be conscripted into surveillance duties, acting as the eyes and ears of the party, just like in 1984, where neighbors and screens monitor everyone. And state-directed algorithmic censorship. The bill hints at powers that allow government to influence algorithms to reduce the reach of harmful or dissenting content. Controlling what people see online is a way to control what they think. Now, keep in mind that already the government funds 85 to 90% of news outlets, and they've already made it quite difficult for you to see independent media. You certainly can't see that on social media. You actually have to go to someone's website. So they already are controlling a lot of what you can see. Journalistic outlets, CTV, Global, CBC, the Globe and Mail, these are all funded by the Liberal government already. And when they have their big events, they don't even let independent media in. And they're saying, well, they need more control over what you can see. Bill C63 blurs the line between safety and authoritarianism. It leverages the emotional weight of harm, got to protect the kids, to create tools that can be used to punish people for future intentions, suppressing dissenting views, anti-liberal views, fine and silence people without a trial, centralize speech control into the hands of bureaucrats. Guys, this is not just a slippery slope. This is legal architecture of a digital surveillance state. And it's all being built under the guise of, we have to protect you. I don't need the government to protect me. They've done a terrible job so far. There's nothing about the government that makes me feel safe. I don't know about you guys. Okay, so for everyone that thinks, well, there's checks and balances and we're in Canada and like all that bad stuff happens in other countries, you know, those bad countries, but we're better people. Guys, I thought we were obsessed with this idea of talking about privilege. Check your Western privilege, that you think bad things and corruption and conspiracies only happen in those other bad countries. There's nothing more privileged than that thought. It happens here. It's happening right now. So let's look at the uncomfortable truth about who's going to be in charge of determining who's guilty. Let's talk about the real problem. Like what I just told you should have everybody running to the Conservative Party away from the left right now. If you wouldn't want this power in the hands of your enemies, then cheering it on because your party is in power is stupid. You're very short-sighted. I'm coming in with heat today because you need to hear it. Let's talk about the real problem. Most of Canada's judges, senators, institutional gatekeepers are appointed. They're not elected like in the United States. And the vast majority of them are liberal ideology. I think Trudeau appointed, don't quote me on this, but 90 out of 105 senators, maybe more at this point. He was doing it very quickly at the end. So our judges are appointed. They're not impartial. They're supposed to be, but no one can actually put their belief system aside. Canada doesn't elect judges like some other countries do. And judges, especially in the Supreme Court and federal courts, are appointed by the Prime Minister and his cabinet. They've been in power for 10 years. That's years of appointments stacking the bench with judges who reflect liberal ideology. So if you're pulled into court for saying something harmful online, it won't be some neutral, free speech loving judge hearing your case. It will likely be someone who believes censorship is justified for the greater good. The legal system is not apolitical. It's just politely ideological. The Senate is full of appointed Liberal allies. The Canadian Senate is also unelected, and the Canadian Senate can veto anything that happens in the House. Senators are appointed by, you guessed it, the Prime Minister, who has been Trudeau the last 9.5 years, who has appointed almost all of the cabinet. If you were paying attention to what he did, especially at the end when he prorogued Parliament and then quickly appointed some more senators, Trudeau used a merit-based system to appoint dozens of independent senators, but they're anything but independent. Most vote in line with Liberal priorities, especially on progressive issues like censorship, online safety, and speech policing. The Senate is supposed to be a chamber of sober second thought. But in reality, it becomes a rubber stamp for government overreach, masked as social progress. The independent bodies are anything but. Bill C63 creates digital safety commissions, which will have massive powers to find people, force takedowns, and enforce what speech is allowed online. And again, who's going to appoint the digital safety commissioner? Again, the Liberals, right? It's going to be Carney. This means that the same people pushing censorship laws get to appoint the person who enforces them. That's not independent oversight, that's institutional capture. I don't really appreciate that my prime minister called me a racist because I didn't want his forced vaccine. This is going to be the person that is able to make these kinds of decisions. So let's connect the dots. When you combine all of this, here's what you get. A law that lets the government punish people for what they might say in the future. Super broad definitions of harm and hate that are completely subjective. And they're keeping them vague right now for a reason. Ask a lawyer, right? When you keep things vague, that just opens the door wide open to all kinds of corruption. The judges, the senators, and the commissioners are going to be handpicked by the Liberal government. And there's going to be a giant culture of compliance in all media, in all institutions, because no one is going to dissent with this system. This is how you build an authoritarian infrastructure and an authoritarian state without ever actually declaring it. It's soft tyranny with a polite little Canadian face. The bottom line is this problem isn't just Bill 63, C-63, is that there's no one left in the system to stop it. You're not just facing one bad piece of legislation, you're facing an entire ideological regime with the power to criminalize dissent, censor truth, and financially or socially destroy anyone who steps out of line. And unless we speak up, organize, and take super massive action in the next 2 weeks with that election coming up, we're not just going to lose free speech, we've lost our freedom. Once you lose your ability to speak up, all your other rights are gone. And we all know that Mr. Mark Carney would love nothing more for us to be like our UK neighbors. Bill C63 in Canada isn't just an overreach, it's a Canadian replica of what we're seeing in the UK right now. I don't know if you guys are watching what's happening in the UK. It is terrifying. You know, we're watching governments all over the world try and push online safety laws, trying to control speech, criminalize harmful opinions, appoint unelected censors, punish potential behavior, not actual crime. Now, the UK's Online Safety Act of 2023 is called the Blueprint. It is a blueprint for digital tyranny. The UK passed its own version of Bill C63 in late 2023. It gives the government and telecom regulator Ofcom sweeping powers to control online content. Their bill, they are fining people up to $70,000, pounds maybe, per person for posts that are deemed hateful. Or I've seen videos of police arresting people in their house saying that their content made people uncomfortable. In the United Kingdom, arrests related to social media posts, this is going to blow your mind, have increased significantly in most recent years. You guys, this number is going to blow your mind. In 2023 alone, police forces across the UK made approximately 12,183 arrests, averaging about 33 per day. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? For online messages deemed offensive or distressing under Section 127 of the Communications Act 2001 of the Malicious Communications Act 1988. That's a 58% rise in such arrests since 2019, when 7,734 detentions were recorded. Thought crime is now becoming law. This is why I'm not being dramatic when I compare this to Orwell's 1984, where we are criminalizing ideas and wrongthink, not even actions. You don't even need to commit a crime. You just need to express a dangerous opinion. In the UK, even jokes or memes can be flagged. I'm in big trouble. In Canada, a judge can limit your freedom if they think you might say something offensive. Let that sink in. So we're watching the normalization of government-mandated morality and algorithmic social engineering. The same globalist ideology is pushing this through courts, government, schools, media, and tech platforms. Canada calls it online harms, the UK calls it online safety, the EU calls it digital services regulation, and the UN calls it digital trust and safety. Different names, same agenda. Oh, but there's so much misinformation. What about all the things that these same institutions have told us that have been incorrect? They're not getting flagged and taken down. This isn't about freedom of speech. This is about freedom of thought. You're not even going to be able to think certain things. All disguised as just keeping you safe. Now, I want to do one more thing here. Let's look at history. I plugged into ChatGPT. Where else have we seen this before in history or current leaders of countries? Who else is controlling thought and speech in the online space or out in public? Maybe there's some good guys. Maybe it's a good thing. So let's look at who else has used this strategy in the past and what other countries are using it now. This will be fun. The first one that came up, Nazi Germany. Okay, speech control. So all media and publications had to align with Nazi ideology. Independent newspapers were shut down or absorbed. Citizens were expected to report each other for anti-German thoughts or speech. The Gestapo or secret police monitored conversations, even in homes. They had a propaganda ministry led by Joseph Goebbels, and it controlled every aspect of culture and media from newspapers to films. This sounds very similar to state-run fact-checking, hate speech laws, deplatforming, and digital surveillance. Same tools. Well, that was a bad one. Who else here? Soviet Union. Stalin, 1924 to 1953. Criticizing the regime, even in private, was considered treason. Many were arrested for counter-revolutionary speech. Entire historical records were changed to fit the narrative. Interesting. I've seen a lot of writing history lately, statues being taken down, books were banned, language was weaponized. In the Gulag system, people were imprisoned or disappeared for saying or believing the wrong thing. Cancel culture, online censorship, social ostracization for holding non-mainstream views. That's sounding very similar to being disappeared. Who else? Maoist China. During the Cultural Revolution, the government launched massive campaigns to re-educate citizens. Oh, that's like Jordan Peterson. Children were encouraged to report parents. Criticizing Mao or party ideology was punishable by prison or worse. Struggle sessions forced people to confess ideological crimes in public. Woke people, you are doing this right now. Those little circles that you guys do, oh my God. The whole public shaming rituals, cancel culture, public firings, cancellation campaigns, disinformation tribunals. Do you not see the parallels? Okay, but that's the past. We don't do that stuff now. So let's see who else is using the strategy now. Okay, so China, the CCP, citizens are tracked for speech and behavior. If you get a low social credit score, you're not allowed to travel, you lose your job, your kids can't go to school, and you can't access basic services. So I think Carney also really wants to push digital currency. I think that's also what China does because it's really easy to block people's payment so that they can't use transportation. I'm sure it's different though. Speech monitoring, saying anything critical of the CCP, even in a private chat can lead to arrest. The internet is heavily censored. VPNs are illegal. I bet that will be Mark's new plan here, banning VPNs. Watch for that. Western platforms are blocked. Bill C63 and the UK's Online Safety Act mirror a lot of these tools right now. They're just marketed with a Western PR privileged polish here. North Korea, there is zero freedom of speech. Only the government speech is legal. Private conversations can be punished. Foreign media is banned. All books, TV, and news come from the regime. Probably going to ban things out of the US soon, I imagine, in Canada. School children are taught to worship the state from birth. Who else? Iran. Criticism of religious or political authorities will lead to arrest, imprisonment, or worse. They have digital surveillance, online activity is tracked, VPNs are not allowed, and social media posts are monitored. Enforced speech and behavior must align with regime-approved belief. Guys, why do you think this is different in Canada? Why would you think that's horrible for North Korea and Iran to do that? But, it's fine if Canada does it. The playbook is always the same. Okay. The good guys in history are never the ones doing this. Never. They're trying to control the narrative through media, education, and speech laws. They're criminalizing dissent under the guise of national unity, being moral, public safety. They're punishing nonconformity financially, socially, physically, and they're encouraging self-censorship. So the state doesn't even have to intervene. The people will just police themselves because they're too afraid. When governments start criminalizing speech, it's not about protecting the people. It's about protecting their power. History is very clear. I also find it very interesting that throughout my entire Canadian education, they've never talked about Mao or Stalin or any of these things. I went to the Human Rights Museum in Winnipeg, and they talk about the far right and fascism and like social destruction. And it's in every single display, it's the state and the union swept in to save the day. And there's nothing on Mao and Stalin and these communist regimes in that entire museum. I found that so creepy and very, very interesting. But the point of all of this, guys, free nations don't ban people's thoughts and free speech. They don't prosecute ideas. They don't fine citizens for jokes and memes or unpopular opinions. When they do, we are no longer a free and democratic nation. And that's why this fight matters, because when you're no longer allowed to speak, all of your other rights are gone. As a former liberal, I want to grab my TV screen and just scream and shake it. Nothing about the Liberal Party represents liberal values. Liberal values include free speech. This is the most dangerous piece of legislation I have ever seen. And if this passes under Mark Carney will do this. Mark Carney has already said he's taken down Twitter. Watch, the next thing is going to be you're not allowed a VPN in Canada. And all they have to do is put this new language over top. It's to protect the children. It's to protect you from hate. Look what's happening in the UK right now. This is not about that. And yes, free speech might come with some consequences. You might get your feelings hurt online. I would rather take that risk than end up in prison one day for a social media post because I said, I don't agree with what the government is doing. I am not being dramatic. You can save this podcast and listen to it when I'm hopefully free living in Texas. This is scary. This is terrifying. This is too far. When they froze bank accounts, that should have been your first red flag. The fact that so many Canadians ignored that, I don't care if you agreed with that protest. Freezing bank accounts for protesting. These are not violent criminals. Well, they let real criminals out of prison in Canada, but this stuff, intolerable. This next election is very, very important. This government is dangerous. And anything that they're trying to fearmonger in regards to the right is inaccurate. I'm looking at a policy, breaking down policies and the things that they said that they're going to do. Now, they're getting people all kinds of scared about the conservatives saying they're going to take away women's rights and gay rights. Show me the policy. They don't exist. There is nothing scary about conservative policies. In fact, the Conservative Party is actually quite liberal in Canada. I'm going off on a side tangent here right now, but the Liberals are weaponizing the situation with the United States, and they're just saying Pierre is Trump and Conservatives are Republicans. If you actually understood politics and the political parties, you would understand that Conservatives in Canada are very, very different than Republicans in the United States. And there is no policy under the Conservatives that is terrifying. But I can bring to light so many liberal policies like this one that are going to change the course of Canada forever. And they're terrifying. Like, there's not much that would make me leave Canada, but under this bill, if this passes, I would have to. I'm not going to jail for this, and I refuse to stop bringing things to light. This stuff is real. This is about the Liberals protecting their own power. Pre-crime laws, guys. Pre-crime. We don't have checks and balances here in Canada. Share this episode with everyone that you know. Share it with your liberal friends. Share it with your parents if they're voting liberal. I get it. People are busy. They have jobs and children. I do too. If you're okay with this kind of legislation passing because your team is in charge of it, you're very short-sighted. If you are still a staunch liberal supporter, I want you to ask yourself, if the Conservatives were the ones putting this into place, how would you feel about it? If you wouldn't be comfortable with someone on the other side having this kind of power, then you shouldn't be cheering it on when your side has it either. Guys, this is an important one. Share it everywhere. I don't ask a lot. I don't get paid for this podcast. I don't like bringing you bad news, but this is the hill that I die on. This is very, very important. If this passes, we are no longer a free sovereign nation. We are no longer a democracy. We already lost a lot of that by not having a functioning legacy media. This is the next step. We're done after this. So this next election is very, very important. Let as many people know about this as humanly possible. This is terrifying. Go read the bill yourself. Sometimes I find it helpful to go through this with lawyers, which I have done on the podcast several times. If you want more, go back and listen to my episode with Omar Sheikh or lawyer Lisa Miron. We go through some other bills piece by piece. We got to get it out here. Hopefully, I'll be back next time with some upbeat news, and I hope I'll be back 2 weeks from now with news that we absolutely crushed the Liberals in this upcoming election. I am sharing this information with you guys not to bring you down, but to activate you. I hope it doesn't bring you down. I hope it does something to you so that you start knocking on doors, so that you start telling your friends and family about this. Don't keep this information to yourself. And I'm saying this as someone that has been feeling the weight of this election and feeling like I just want to curl away. And I'm here talking about these things. So I'm just encouraging you to do the same. Share it to your social media, but have conversations with people in real life. Go door knocking with your local Conservative Party if you can. Talk to your MP about this, whether they're liberal or conservative, and say, we're not standing for this stuff in Canada. We know what you're doing here. This is unacceptable. We are not North Korea or Iran. We're not doing this. Being activated politically does not just mean voting. It does not just mean voting and then wiping your hands clear and saying that you're done. It's about participating in this way, about talking about the things that matter, being active in your communities. And even, let's say even the Conservatives get in, staying on them, not sitting back, because there is no perfect party, right? Staying on people to do what they said that they were going to do and making sure that whoever's in charge does the right thing. Thanks for listening, guys. If you like what we're doing over here on The Sovereign CEO, hit the subscribe button, share this episode with a friend. It helps us a lot. I'll see you guys next time. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Sovereign CEO podcast. If you love what we do here, if these conversations challenge, inspire, or equip you in any way, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Leave a 5-star review. It helps us reach more entrepreneurs just like you who are ready to build wealth, freedom, and solutions that change lives. And if today's episode hit home, share this episode with a friend, because the more of us who are equipped with these tools for freedom, the better. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being critical thinkers. And I'll see you guys next time on another episode of the Sovereign CEO podcast.